Welcome everyone to Ratioed. My name is Harrison Faulkner. Well, on Tuesday night, something different happened to Justin Trudeau. You have to check it out. In NDP heartland, the Steel City, Hamilton, Ontario, Justin Trudeau was mobbed by admirers, mobbed by supporters. I mean, it's shades of Beatlemania touching down the United States. His fans are fainting left, right, and center just at the very sight of the man. You gotta check this clip out right here. True support in Hamilton. Watch this. Truly incredible. I've never seen a prime minister be so loved by his own people. We've got some exclusive footage for you coming up on this show for the first time ever, I think, on Ratioed, because legacy media journalists failed to do their job on Tuesday night. They were asleep at the wheel. But luckily for all of us, and unfortunately for Justin Trudeau, I was on the scene to capture what was really going on. Stick around for the Ratio of the Week award. You won't want to miss it. Drop a like, help us out by subscribing to the True North YouTube channel. And the comment question for the episode is this: if you could walk with Justin Trudeau for 3 minutes, just you, Dominic LeBlanc, the RCMP, and Justin Trudeau, what would you say to the man? Let me know in the comments, and let's get into it. Well, I hate to say it, but I think someone on Justin Trudeau's planning and travel team may be losing their job next week for making the decision to host the 3-day Liberal cabinet retreat in Hamilton, Ontario. You know, there's a lot of space in this country. There's a lot of places where you can go in Canada to avoid the cameras, to avoid all your fans, all your supporters, just to get a break from all the crazy attention you get. Hamilton, Ontario, however, is not really one of those places, is it? Because right from the very beginning, right from the moment Justin Trudeau touched down in the Steel City, the traveling Trudeau welcoming party was there to greet him with a nice, good old hearty Canadian hello.
We are going to hold you accountable. You will be held accountable for what you have done.
So it turns out actually that all throughout that first night that Liberal cabinet ministers touched down in the Steel City, Canadians were there to lay on their horns, blast fireworks, and really give the Liberal cabinet a trip down memory lane as to what took place exactly 1 year ago this week. And of course, how can we not mention it on this show? It's the 1-year anniversary of the Bouncy Castle Rebellion, the hot tub insurrection. And if you're a Liberal cabinet minister, you're probably hoping that, 12 months on from that very embarrassing moment, Canadians have started to cool off a little bit. Well, I can tell you as a matter of fact, because I was on the ground in Hamilton, that anger has not gone away. In fact, it might even be worse. Because when you invoke wartime-like measures on a peaceful protest, when you call in the horses on elderly women trying to voice their frustration with the government, well, time only makes those wounds worse. And let me just tell you, if Monday was a rough welcoming for Justin Trudeau, Tuesday was a special day. Now, for whatever reason, someone on Justin Trudeau's team thought it would be a good idea to stash the entire federal cabinet into a downtown Hamilton restaurant and nobody would notice. Well, as you could have guessed, people did find out, and this is exactly what it looked like because I was on the ground there to capture the scenes. Very frustrated and very angry Canadians swarmed both the front entrance and the rear exit of the Bread Bar in Hamilton. Now, for whatever reason, guys, and I just can't figure it out for the life of me, the legacy media were nowhere to be found around the restaurant. In fact, they may have been in the restaurant dining with the cabinet because they sure as heck weren't out on the ground talking to the protesters, capturing the scene, and giving Canadians the real news. It's funny though, because we know the legacy media is there. In fact, the legacy media journalists were taking photos from inside the hotel that the Liberal cabinet were staying in. So legacy media journalists get their press pass, they get access to the Prime Minister, to the cabinet, they get to stay in the same hotels, they probably eat at the same dinner table. But actually talking to Canadians on the ground, well, that's not a job for legacy media journalists to dirty their hands with the people. They would never want to talk to real Canadians. They just want to keep talking to the Liberal cabinet ministers. Part of me feels embarrassed for legacy media journalists, but then the other part of me thinks, well, if you're not going to do the job, well, we will at True North. Independent journalists will actually do the job. And, well, we were on the ground to capture the money shot. Justin Trudeau leaving the restaurant, getting absolutely mobbed by protesters, face to face, yelling obscenities, swearing at him, calling him a tyrant, calling him a traitor, yelling at him to resign. This clip truly is, I think, emblematic of where this country is at right now with this government. Incredible. That clip, as of right now, has almost 2.5 million views on Twitter. It is truly going viral. The world is watching this, and they must be scratching their head thinking, how can a prime minister lead his people when the people treat him like that? And when you watch that clip, it's really no surprise as to why the legacy media weren't there. It's not in their interest to show that kind of coverage. What they want to show is the nice, well set up, well lit press conference backdrop with Justin Trudeau's clapping cabinet ministers behind him, just basically nodding away as Chrystia Freeland does, clapping away like seals as the rest of his cabinet does, to whatever he says. Well, this is how Canadians actually feel about the man. And I think legacy media journalists got a little embarrassed that they got showed up by little old True North doing the job for them. Take a look at some of the reactions to this clip. Gerald Butts, Justin Trudeau's former principal secretary, got in on the action. These folks are not the first people in history to take selfish advantage of the freedoms granted them by their democratic country to put on a show for the cameras. They won't be the last. This reaction makes me laugh from Gerald Butts. Hey, Jerry, take a look at the video once again. You see many cameras there? The legacy media, the ones you guys paid off, weren't there because it's not in their interest to cover it. If it weren't for me, if it weren't for one or two other independent journalists, that footage would never have been seen. So nice try with your little attack there, Jerry. I'm hoping Justin maybe gave you a pat on the back for that one. Brian Platt, a no-name legacy media journalist from Bloomberg who has a media accreditation, by the way, who has access to the Prime Minister, to the cabinet, who gets access to the fancy press conferences. Well, he must have been a little embarrassed that he got showed up by True North because he came out on this clip too. Take a look at this. There actually weren't that many protesters last night. As you can see near the end where the cameraman pans back to the street, I saw maybe 30 or 40 at most, but they were very loud and aggressive. Yeah, they might have been quite loud from your Sheraton hotel room, bud, but if you were down on the ground, you would have seen there were more than 30 or 40. Not like that's the kind of job you're looking to do. Gary Mason from the Globe and Mail, who got quite the ratio, who may in fact be taking home the Ratio of the Week award if you stick around to find out, he also got in on the action. Take a look at this. Please tell me Pierre Poilievre has denounced these scenes of extremist behavior. Horribly scary. Hey Gary, have you ever asked why Canadians feel this way about our Prime Minister? Is this normal behavior to you, or is this a special case when it comes to one Prime Minister in particular? A question that a good journalist might consider asking. Now, just to rub salt in the wound for the legacy media journalists who were asleep at the wheel on Tuesday night, I actually managed to walk with the Prime Minister for 3.5 minutes underneath Jackson Square Mall. I wasn't expecting to see the Prime Minister, and I wasn't expecting to be able to walk with him for that long, so I didn't really know what to ask. But I was really there just to capture the moment and to try and give him some questions that, well, let's just be honest, he's not used to fielding. Because if there's one thing I can take away from all of this, it's that the last thing Justin Trudeau and his cabinet are expecting is to face independent journalists asking them tough questions. They get to curate their questions with bought and paid for legacy media journalists, and yet never have to field questions from independent media, except for on Tuesday night. Check it out. Mr. Prime Minister, will you go outside to speak to Canadians?
Okay. So you're going to talk to her? I'm going to talk to her after, as you talk to the guy here.
Will you resign if the Emergencies Act Commissioner finds her invocation of the Emergencies Act unjustified, Prime Minister? A lot of Canadians are angry right now. Do you have any message to them? How do we lower the temperature in Canada, Mr. Prime Minister? 1 year on from the Freedom Convoy, do you regret not meeting with any of the protesters? A lot of protesters outside. Would you ever be in talking to them? Now, the video of Trudeau getting mobbed by protesters and swarmed by supporters just couldn't be ignored from even the legacy media journalists, even the most loyal legacy media journalists. Even they, the next day, asked Justin Trudeau about what happened on Tuesday night. And honestly, it takes some chutzpah to be able to say, well, actually, the welcome I've received in Hamilton has been truly extraordinary. Could you imagine saying something like that after getting so brutally heckled just the night before? This level of defiance is almost worthy of admiration. Incredible. Watch this.
Prime Minister, there's video that has emerged of you last night leaving a restaurant here in Hamilton, a crowd of protesters surrounding you, obviously very angry at you and your government. I wonder whether you felt that was a secure situation for you and why.
First of all, let me say that the welcome that I've gotten here in Hamilton has been extraordinary. The people I've met, the students here, the folks and teams that I met in various places during our couple of days here have been thoughtful and open and warm. And a handful of angry people do not define what Hamilton is or what democracy in this country is. We're going to continue to be out there, and we're not going to let a handful of angry people interfere with the democratic processes that Canadians have always taken pride in being able to come up and meet members of Parliament, ministers, or even the Prime Minister and share their preoccupations. That's one of the strengths of this country.
I love this part too. He says, a small group of angry protesters can't interfere with democracy. Buddy, that's not interfering with democracy. That is democracy. Protesting your government is democracy. We have the right to say, you know what? We're upset with you and we're going to let you hear it. The comments on the Trudeau press conference video are quite good. I want to read some of them before we move on. That's the face of a man who knows he's despised. He doesn't look like his usual smug self. This person writes, see, the clown brought his clapping seals. Oh yes, his loyal cabinet ministers. I don't think he realizes just how big that handful is. It's more than a handful when it happens every time he steps outside. How could you say it's a handful when no matter where he goes, no matter where the man goes, across the country, heck, even outside of the country in London, England, he's getting brutally heckled. Ratio of the week time. The winner this week is Gary Mason from The Globe for that tweet we showed you earlier on in the show. When he wrote, please tell me Pierre Poilievre has denounced these scenes of extremist behavior. Horribly scary. At the time of this recording, Gary Mason got brutally ratioed over 1,600 replies, 1,641 replies to 794 likes. By the time this video comes out, I bet you that will be even worse. And you have to ask yourself, horribly scary scenes, Gary? Horribly scary? The Prime Minister brought it on himself. He knew exactly what he was doing. He didn't have to cross the street. In fact, he didn't even have to go to the bread bar restaurant. But yet he did. The RCMP didn't clear away protesters. They just basically let him walk right through the crowd. What did they expect was going to happen? Surely they knew they were going to get this reaction. Maybe Gary, just like his other legacy media counterparts, is a little embarrassed that Globe and Mail journalists weren't there doing their jobs on the scene to capture the video. Viva Fry, of course, got in on this guy's tweet. Is this a parody account? Cat Canada wrote, hey, Fainting Daisy, no arrests made because loud, mean words while walking on a public street isn't a crime. This guy gets in on the action too. Globe and Mail columnist, it's extremist to exercise a charter right to protest a sitting prime minister in a public place during a meeting of politicians. Uncouth language is objectionable, but it's nothing more, despite the offense taken by privileged media personalities. And this guy also got in on the action. Denounce them for what? It's not his mess. The Prime Minister divided this country for his political gain. This is all Trudeau's doing. Ripping a country apart has consequences. All right, that's going to do it for us this week on the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Harrison Faulkner, and this is Ratio.